Welcome, everybody, to a special episode of The Road to Chaos, which, of course, is a new series that we're doing here at Gym Life that's going to highlight the big U90 Classic that's coming up this year in England. July, don't hold me to it, Luke, July 17th, but is that the date?
No, it is July the 22nd and
22nd.
22nd and 23rd.
See, there's always something I forget to write down. But with me today, of course, doesn't really need an introduction. Everybody knows this guy. Strongman ambassador for sure, as I always title you these days. Also promoter, U90 competitor himself. Of course, previous deadlift world champion, Luke Davies. Thanks, Luke.
Oh, happy to be here.
Yeah, this is pretty exciting, man. When we're 7 months out, which is arguably going to be the biggest U90 show the world's ever seen. The first question I'm going to ask you is, what was this idea all about, and where did it spawn from?
So me and Ray have wanted to do like our own version of a pro show for a while, but it's always kind of been on the back burner, something we'll do eventually. But about 6 to 8 weeks ago, Derek Owen sent me a message basically encouraging me to run my own show because he wanted to compete outside of America. So originally the plan was just to put on a high level, but like smallish 90 show just for my friends basically to come over from different countries and have somewhere to compete. And then it just escalated as you've seen. Like originally the plan was to do like maybe like a 10 to 12 person show with like just guys that I knew basically, and just do that sort of thing. But when I started reaching out to a few different people, I assumed like some people would say no, and I'd have to go like further down my list and blah blah blah, and just everyone kept saying yes. So before I knew it, I had like a short list of a billion names that I had to try and whittle down and filter down. And then I was talking to Ray and a few other people, and they would like just have a big show, invite more people, and just go all out and just make it big. So yeah, originally it was supposed to be like a 10, 12 person show, and then I realized I couldn't really whittle it down to 10 to 12 guys because the standard is so high in the 90s. In the end, I struggled to whittle it down to 20, to be honest. There's probably 50, 60 guys I could have invited.
Yeah, I was going to say probably the hardest thing to come up with was that invite list initially. I mean, it just, and you nailed it for sure. And I guess once those invite confirmations started rolling in, I suppose it's at that point maybe you started adding even a few more names, I'm guessing, because you realized maybe you're onto something even bigger than you had even imagined.
Yeah. So I did. I had a list of 20 guys originally who I wanted to invite. And then once more, I expected again maybe a third of them to say no. So far, nobody has declined. Not everybody's confirmed yet because obviously they have to sort out logistics, like whether they can get here, travel costs, etc. But so far, nobody has said no. So I did add a couple more of people maybe who slipped through. Originally, I'd kind of forgotten about them. Maybe they hadn't competed for a while, and a few guys just DM'd me and said, "Can I come?" And I was like, "Well, yes, because you're freaking Matt McKeegan or you're Tyler Young." I was like, "I'm not saying no to these guys." Do you know what I mean? So they weren't originally on my invite list. Obviously
okay, so those guys, that was one of the questions that was asked was, were the 105ers originally on the invite, or did they solicit you?
No, they reached out to me. Tyler was the first, I think. Obviously, I talked to Tyler quite a bit anyway. I know he's not a big 105 anyway. He walks around to like maybe 225 pounds tops. Yeah. He doesn't cut for the 105 class. And he's competed at 90 before. He's actually competed at 80 kilos like 5 or 6 years ago. So
yeah, Tyler's already made for the 90s right now.
Yeah,
he's been walking in pretty lightweight.
In reality, he is a 90 who's been competing at 105.
Yeah, absolutely.
And doing very well. So when he messaged me, I was like, yeah, of course you can have an invite. Like this.
Yeah, and then I guess McKeegan, the only question is does that guy have enough body fat on his body to actually come down to 90?
Yeah. Again, McKeegan, he's one of the best 105s in the world.
Yep.
So if he wants to do the show, I'm obviously going to say yes. Whether he makes weight or not, I'm confident he will. He's a professional. He's a nutritionist for a living. Whether he can maintain the strength is another matter, but I'm confident he'll get down to the class and make weight.
Yeah, I've said it before. If anybody can do it, it's going to be McKeegan. He knows what he's doing there. So that's just another interesting caveat to all this, I think, is having those guys in it. And then, of course, CJ Kraus up from the 80s. And, I mean, if you're going to have anybody up from the 80s, might as well be the world champ, right?
Yeah, obviously Ben and CJ coming up from the 80s.
Oh, Ben as well. That's right. Yep.
So it's going to be very interesting to see. Basically, we're going to see 80 kilo guys against 105 guys meeting in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued to see Ben, Donnie, and CJ versus, say, McKeegan and Tyler Young.
It's a really interesting beta test, isn't it, with the way this class kind of works that invites so many people from the peripheral. And if this goes over the way I think it will, you might be onto something here. This could be more 105ers and more 80s saying, hey, let's try this out every year.
We've kind of seen it on a sort of similar level with the introduction of the 73 kilo class for the women.
Oh, true.
In that we had some girls who were too big for the 64s going up, and then we had girls who were probably too small for the 82s coming down, and they've met the 73s, and the 73s has turned into a bit of a stat class now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm intrigued to see what happens with those people moving weight classes.
Well, I'm real big on creating these plot lines and this drama and trying to create a little bit of buzz through the community. And obviously, it's something our strongman community needs to be a part of. The growth is to get these guys to become names and people that are familiar with them, and doing things like this, I think, champions that on a bit. But if you look from your class from the top to the bottom, and it didn't take long, like you said, all these confirmations started rolling in. I mean, I think your show really has coined the world championships now of the U90s if everybody shows up. I don't think we can argue that. Now, I will say this. I wore my Strong Crew shirt today to still give love to Tyler Davies because as far as I'm concerned, he's still the king of the 90s. However, your show now is going to offer another level of 90 that we can argue maybe world champion.
Yeah, definitely. Tyler had the best year of anybody last year. I don't think anybody can dispute that. And he is the man to beat. So, as Ric Flair says, you got to be the man, you got to beat the man. So we'll see what happens with that.
I'm sure he was the first guy with his confirmation back to you saying, bring it on, let's do this. So
yeah, Tyler confirmed before the comp was even official, I think. So
I bet he did. The guy's tenacious. He wants to beat him. It's everybody and beat everybody. So this qualifier you got, Luke, initially you opened it up to 3 spots. You and I were talking, I think you made the announcement as well that now you've made it 5, and you said you made it 5 in large part because you just have so many people that are coming in this qualifier right now.
Yeah, so obviously I put the sign up on the website, and I was like, I'm going to put a small fee on there basically to not discourage people, but to only get people who are serious about wanting to come to the show. It's only a small fee. It's like $15 to register.
Right.
Obviously, it is going to take me a lot of time to go through videos and stuff, so I have to get something back for it. And I've already have 38 people signed up for the online qualifier. And it's not even we're a month out from me announcing.
What is the deadline on that qualifier again, as far as getting your entry in?
There's no deadline. If people want to sign up, right up until the end, so it's going to run through March. If someone wants to sign up 3 days before the end and do all the lifts in one day, they can. So I'm not going to put a deadline on that. Obviously, I will be emailing out all the details. So if you don't sign up, the longer you take to sign up, the later you'll be getting the information. So,
and when are you going to release those events, Luke?
Officially, as in like all the exact details, I'm going to send up the guys. Where was it? The 25th of Feb, so a week before the qualifier starts. Sorry, not the 25th, the 22nd of February. is when I'll send out the information. I do pretty much know what I'm going to do now, so I can just tell you now if you want.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's make the announcement.
So we're going to do. I'll preface this by saying I don't like the way other comps have done online qualifiers. So OSG, Clash, etc. In that there's only normally 3 events.
Okay.
I find that it doesn't necessarily get the best strongmen into the show because it's normally a press, a deadlift, and say one maybe loading event.
Right.
And if you've ever been to a strongman show, you'll see guys who they might be terrible overhead, they might zero it, and then they'll still end up on the podium because they smash the other 4. Mark Felix,
True.
perfect example.
Yep,
Zeros every overhead, still near the top. So I find with these traditional online qualifiers with only 3 events, we find specialists like the deadlift specialists qualify, the press and specialists qualify, just because they get so many points from that one event. And with there only being 3, it doesn't give the movers a chance to catch up. So my plan basically is to do 5 events and basically have a full competition.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I don't think anybody disputes that. I think everybody agrees that, albeit those qualifiers are great to have, sometimes maybe they're a little bit under. Yeah, they're you don't quite get the cast you're hoping to get.
Yeah, exactly. So with those traditional ones with only 3 events, the press takes up 33% of the points. Whereas when you get to the actual show, it's only going to be 1 event of the 6. So I don't think you're going to find the right people for the actual final show, if that makes sense. So
yep.
I'm going to do press. It's probably going to be 1 rep max.
Okay.
I'm deciding on the implement yet. I might just say whatever implement you want, just so it's easier for people to do.
Okay.
I don't want to limit it to people who've got a log, who've got an axle. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment is 1 rep max overhead. The deadlift, conversely, then will be a rep event. It'll either be something like a 5 rep max or a set weight for as many reps as possible. So I might pick I might pick say 550 pounds and say rep it out for 45 seconds or a minute. So standard.
Oh wow. Okay. Sure.
Typical comp event. So that's what I was thinking with that. Then there will be some kind of farmer's walk. I haven't worked out the exact logistics yet because I want to test grip. I also want to test speed as well. I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to do that in terms of, getting people to video it and weigh it and things like that. So it's that sort of logistics I still got to think about. But there's definitely going to be a farmer's element. There's definitely going to be a sandbag load. It will be. That's a 1 event. I'm pretty much guaranteed. I'm just going to do sandbag load over, say, a yoke or a bar.
Okay.
48 inches for as many reps as possible in 60 seconds.
Okay. And that's to kind of mimic what we have coming into this event, right? As far as.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a sandbag event in the show.
Right.
It's going to be loaded over a yoke. So I want to test that.
Okay.
I would love to do a yoke in the online qualifier, but weighing a yoke is almost impossible in a gym.
It's a nightmare. Yeah.
You'd have to take all 3 pieces apart, weigh it all separately, and I'm not going to get people to do that. So that's not really feasible. So it's going to be a sandbag load for reps. It's going to be probably a set weight. It'll be around like 275 pounds to 300.
Okay.
That sort of range.
Yeah.
And then the 5th event, I haven't decided at all yet.
A bit of a mystery then. Okay.
Yeah, I've got to work out what's going to be comfortable for people to film.
Yeah.
Weigh, etc. It's obviously with the online qualifier. I don't want to make it too complicated for people. I don't want to have the barrier entry to be too high. I want people to be able to film it relatively simply.
Yeah, and therein lies the problem of some of these qualifiers that are online, right? It's like all of a sudden you find out that there's not a whole lot you can do.
And that's why I do understand why Clash, OSG, etc. typically does just 3 events, because they're normally 3 events that are very simple to record, weigh. But yeah, I do want to do 5. If I can't think of a 5th event, I will just do 4. Those 4 will definitely be happening.
So we're at least getting 4, maybe the 5th if we figure it out. Right now it'll be a 1 rep max press, either a set weight for reps deadlift or a 5 rep max type thing. farmers, as you mentioned, then a sandbag load of some sort.
And then I'll just be scoring like a typical comp. So say we have 40 guys. If you come
Right.
first in the if you
Oh, I
come
like
first
that.
in the event, you'll get 40 points and down. So
Perfect.
it'll
Yeah.
basically be a full competition, but just online.
Yeah, and you've got a week. You can do one event every couple of days if you wanted to, whatever it takes, kind of thing. So
Yeah. They don't have to be all done on the same day. There's going to be like a time period of, I think it's I said 3 weeks, where you can
wow.
do
Okay.
all those lifts in any order you want. And yeah, I'll be scoring like a full comp. So that's how it's going to work.
It looks like the contingency of guys that are signing up for that. You said 38 to this point. I probably know another 15 that
Yes.
haven't even got to it yet. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit of work.
I've personally spoken to 6 or 7 guys who I know
Yeah.
are doing it and haven't signed up yet. So I'm expecting it to be near 50 by the time it actually starts.
Yeah, and then taking the top
crazy.
5 out of that, adding them to what you have now, where would that put our lineup then for the U90 Classic at a number of competitors?
I think we're going to end up around 30.
30. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, I was going to cap it smaller, but I thought, okay, it's only one class.
Sure.
So everything is going to be 3 at a time on all the events there at the show. So we have 3 lanes. So there isn't really any sort of time constraints.
Gotcha. Yep.
So, I mean, I could easily deal with 60 if I wanted.
Yeah, especially running 3 lanes. I mean, shoot, you can run 60 pretty easy. So yeah.
Exactly. So I wasn't worried about when I decided to go 3 lanes instead of 2. I decided, I can take 30 instead of 20.
Yep.
Obviously, that's all going to depend on if everybody accepts the invites first of all, and then the standard of the online qualifier. So I've said I'm going to take the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if person 6th or 7th are crazy strong and I want them in the show, I'll just invite them as well.
Gotcha. Sure. You're not. If we got separated by a half point coming to those bottom 3, you'll probably gonna invite them. Okay.
Exactly. And the same goes if people pull out. The people who already confirmed pull out, say, a month before the show, I'll go down the online qualifier list and invite people off that. I did have a couple of people saying, I saw a few comments on Instagram basically saying, he's just inviting everyone. And I was like, the standard of this class is so high.
It is.
We can have a 30-man show without having a dip in quality.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
It's not going to be like 10 guys way in front of everybody else, I don't think.
No.
It's going to be a good mix. And the fact that we have 50 people still trying to qualify for 5 spots tells me that I definitely haven't invited everybody. And it's still going to be hard work getting into it.
I think there's a bunch of people out there like myself right now looking at this lineup and like Nick Myers said the other day on my interview, don't even bother to try to predict this show. It's going to be impossible.
Yeah, 100%.
And I also think with the fact that you have a pretty deep lineup of the best, listen, it's that one slip of the stone scenario because there's such a deep class here that there's no taking an event off. That's for sure. These guys are certainly laying it on the line.
Yeah, and I am quite conscious of the fact that with a 30-man lineup, a small mistake can cost you a lot of points, which is why I don't want it to be. That's why the show is going to be quite heavy, because I don't want it to be about, stumbling, maybe going a second slower, and that costing you 10 points. I want it to be strength to be the determining factor. So obviously there are going to be speed elements, there are going to be fitness elements, because one of the medleys is going to be horrible. So there are going to be those fitness elements, speed elements, but it's going to be heavy enough. Heavy enough is what I should say.
Yeah.
The determining factor is going to be the strongest person.
Well, and that's how you kind of that's how you correct that a little bit too. You make it heavier, so those one-off elements don't have as big of an impact as they would otherwise.
Exactly. So rather than the farmers being a 10-second sprint, where 1 second can be the difference between 7 points.
Gotcha.
It's going to be it's still going to be a speed event, obviously, but it's going to be a bit longer in terms of time. So that 1 second is going to cost you stupid amount of points.
Well,
That's
that's a
the way.
good sneak peek into what you got planned for these events. So if those guys can read between the lines, you already kind of know how to start training for this stuff. So, that you picked what? Let's talk a little bit about the community too. And I want to pronounce this right. It's Latham St. Anne's, right? Lytham. Okay, darn it, got it wrong, but that's why I got you on. Lytham St. Anne's.
But also,
I've been over there a few times. Just on the computer checking things out.
Yeah.
There's a great pub over there, I hear too. So, or a brewery that is. So,
yeah.
But what was the destination, Luke? What's behind the destination over there for you and throwing the show?
Well, obviously, our gym is in Preston, which is in Lancashire in the northwest. I've been searching for a venue outside of the gym for about 12 months to run some bigger shows. Not necessarily for the Kaos Classic. This was before that.
Yeah.
And I've been struggling, to be honest. It's like we don't seem to have the type of expo halls and stuff that I see a lot in the US. So I essentially ended up putting out a post on my Instagram asking if did anybody know any venues. And it turns out a guy who used to train at my gym is the manager of this facility. So he's an ex-strongman himself.
Okay.
And he manages this sports complex. And he was like, well, I have a big hall you can use.
Ah, perfect. And he understands the game a little bit too.
Yeah, exactly. So he's competed. He's trained in my gym. He used to be a member and stuff. So he knows the score. I know that I'm not going to have to explain things to him. And he's really keen to help out any way he can as well. So, and it just happens to be the fact that the venue's in Rhiannon's hometown as well. So
it's a perfect little seaside village over there. I call it your eclectic English seaside village, really, but it's got all the amenities to go with it.
And it's only about 20 minutes from our gym.
Yeah.
So in terms of loading up and taking all my equipment and stuff like that, it's going to be way easier.
Yeah, it makes logistics, which is a huge part of these events, of course, especially what you're doing over there.
For Clash in the UK, I had to drive all my equipment 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I had 210 in the back of my van going around corners was terrifying. So the fact that it's only, I think it's 10, 15 miles down the road. Yeah, it's just a nice location in Preston. Preston's not the nicest city. So.
Well, I will tell everybody out there traveling in, if you haven't got online and looked at that community yet, beautiful seaside village. I mean, it's just, I wouldn't even call it a village. It's a town for sure, but it's custom made for summer vacation. It looks like too. So
it's got a beautiful seafront, a nice pier. So hopefully the weather's good. In July. And people can make a weekend of it is the plan, because obviously we have the Britain's Under 80 show on the Saturday as well. And that's what I'm hoping that people come up to Lytham for the weekend. And,
it sounds like a lot of everybody traveling from here are going to make a week out of it and bring their family over. So those of that I've spoke to so far, so it's going to be a great place for that as well. Now the venue itself is indoors, outdoors. Do you have a contingency plan? Is it outdoors right now? Is it coming indoors, or do you know which way that's going to work?
Everything's going to be indoors.
Okay, great.
Yeah, everything's going to be indoors, so don't have to worry about the weather. It's basically just an empty room that I'm going to turn into a venue.
Perfect.
So I'm going to bring in seating, bring in the backdrop, bring in the light in. So I'm just going to be bringing everything myself. There's a blank canvas, essentially, for me to do whatever I want with.
I'm sure that makes Don from ADL very happy too, that he's got an indoor facility to film in.
Yes.
Yeah, which is another thing to add. Obviously, you got with Don with ADL, and he's going out there, of course, to live stream this so the whole world can view it, which I think is going to be a really big hit. And a lot of people are going to want to be a part of that from everywhere. It sounds like where everybody's coming from. So that'll be nice. But you are also doing a just a piggyback what we're talking about here. I believe you're doing an 80s show too the day prior.
Yes. So the day prior, so I ran Britain's Strongest Man in the 80s. So over here it's all our nationals separate. So I run the 80 kilo scene. So my original plan was to have. I was searching for this venue for the 80 show.
Yeah.
And obviously I found the venue. I was starting to plan the 80 show, and then Derek messaged me about the 90. So I kind of just put them together. So the 80 show is going to be on the Saturday, and that's going to have some big names as well. We're going to have Dean McVie, who I'm sure you know, and top 3 OS3s will be
Oh wow.
competing.
Okay.
We have like the world's strongest twins, Joe and Tim. We have Tommy Trivers, who won it last year. So we got a really, really competitive 80s scene in the UK now.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was probably my favorite show that I did last year. So yeah, that's going to be like not a warm up show because it's going to be a big show in and of itself. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we're doing like weekend tickets as well. So if you buy a ticket for the weekend, you get a discount for both shows. So
No, I
that's
love
what
that format too. You
what
do
we're
them
going
on
to do.
separate days and make it, we'll all be able to spectate that coming over and enjoy that kind of from the fans' point of view and get to see a lot of that talent that you guys have over there as well.
Yeah, and it gives the 90s guys after they weigh in on the Saturday, they can stick around and watch the 80s show if they want.
Yeah.
And the same for the British 80s guys if they want to stay on the Sunday to watch the 90s show.
Yeah, and if they're not doing anything else, Luke, they can volunteer for you and get and help you with some of this shit because I know everybody needs it in promotions.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll help. Yeah, that's great. And I want to make note of that because I do know that was a big show that you do with that 80s over there. And as much love as we're giving this U90 Classic, that 80s show is going to be something fun to watch. I know if a lot of these guys come over, they're going to enjoy that as well. I know that's become a big part of that community over there with what you're doing with that show as well. I can guess it's going to be a pretty big spectating crowd there.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, especially with the fact that I want to say 4 or 5 of the top 80s in the UK are from the area.
Oh, wow.
As in, like, from the northwest, within like
Yeah.
maybe a 25-mile radius of where the venue is. So hopefully, having those guys, local guys, competing will, bring in some more spectators, and that's why I wanted it up in the northwest as well, because where we are, I would say, is probably the hotbed for strongman and strongwoman in the country. There's like it's probably 10 to 15 strongman gyms now.
Yeah.
Like within an hour and a half drive of each other. So it's kind of like booming in this part of the country. And obviously, as you know, location is very, very important. Like with the Clash show, it was a really good venue. Like the hosts were really good, lovely town, but it was right down on the south coast, miles away from anywhere. So trying to get spectators to come to that was hard because it was in the middle of nowhere.
So you do want to find that location that just it fits all, it checks all the boxes,
And the fact it's an hour away from Manchester Airport. Manchester is an international airport. It's the one we use to fly over to the US. So like it's an hour drive from there. So for anybody guys flying in, it's very, very easy to get to. You can literally get on there's a train station in the airport that takes you right to the Lytham St. Anne's.
Oh, nice. Center. Yeah, I love that. I was just thinking, even if you car, I guess I don't need one then. Yeah.
Realistically, you don't need to rent the car. You can just hop on the train and it takes you straight there. Obviously, if you want to get a car, great, but you don't need to. So that was a factor for it as well. And I think the location, fingers crossed, is pretty perfect.
Yeah, it sounds like it, looks like it, everything else. And just a note out there to everybody listening to this interview, I checked the Airbnbs out thoroughly when I booked mine, and I'll tell you right now that there's plenty of them to choose from, and they're not expensive. I was surprised.
They're not expensive. And if you wanted, you could go like further afield as well, because Blackpool's even cheaper. Because Blackpool, for anyone who doesn't know, is kind of like how do you describe Blackpool? It reminds me of Daytona Beach. It's very, very wild. It's got like theme parks, all that sort of stuff, and it's a bit cheaper as well. So you could stay there if you wanted. You could stay in Preston. You could even stay in Manchester if you wanted, or Liverpool, and drive up for the show because it's only an hour and a half from Liverpool. So there's loads of options. Like I said, the prices are pretty cheap.
It really is. I mean, you look at the plane ticket, that's one thing. You can we all deal with high airfares, but when I looked at that Airbnb, I was like, okay, this is not bad at all. This is actually a pretty decent, travel package if you look at it.
Yeah, one of the originally when it was going to be a smaller show, I was going to look into helping guys with the accommodation in terms of maybe booking hotels and stuff like that. But when I just looked into the prices, just searching for Airbnbs myself and sending guys the links, it was so cheap.
Unbelievable, really.
It
Yeah.
didn't seem worth it to me to go through trying to get a discount with a hotel or wherever when the
No.
Airbnbs and stuff are so cheap, and I could just put that money instead just into the prize pot and into the show.
I
So
spent
that's
more money going to Clash last year in South Carolina than I am going to
yeah,
any
I can
religious show.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So for anybody wondering, it's really very affordable, and it's nice to see. And it's nice to see we have so many Americans too that are, and it sounds like all of them. They're, hey, let's do this. We're gonna make the trip and do it. I think everybody's hungry for a competition like that, and I think obviously I'm not going to hold you to it, but I know your wheels are turning, and maybe we'll get to see an evolution of this show as well. And I know everybody's hoping to see that. Do you have anything that you want to add to our conversation today? Because we'll get back. Oh, I did want to make point that they're first off the prize pool. I think it's up to about 7,000, close to it right now.
It's just like about $50 under $7,000 now.
Okay.
We're at. So yeah,
Yeah, we're 6.5 months out, so that's going to do nothing but grow between now and then, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then to point out the fact that the shirts, you want to say that?
Yeah, so the original batch of pre-orders, I think Derek's closed his on Friday, will be getting posted out within the next week or so. Same in the UK with mine. After that goes out, we will be reopening it again for the month later. So what we're going to do is basically do one post a month, if that makes sense.
Oh, I got you to just do like a different run of shirts, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just so we don't have to have them all in stock, and we're making sure that we're not wasting money on stock that's not selling, and all the money just goes directly into the prize pool. We've sold, I think, I want to say close to 60 shirts now.
Oh, awesome. That's
which
great.
has gone directly into the prize pot. You can find links on the Chaos Promotions page on my Instagram. It's in my bio. You can find the American ones through Derek Owens or the Battle Axe Barbell website. All the profit from the shirts goes directly to the prize pot. We're giving constant updates on the Chaos Promotions Instagram about where the prize pool is. I think the last one I posted was about 6,600. So the 7,000 one is an update. I just haven't.
It's growing pretty exponentially. I know. I've seen it grow a couple $100 every week. It seems so. We're on a good clip here.
We are still open to sponsors, so we do have a couple of sponsor spaces still left open. If anybody is interested, they can get in touch with me or the Chaos Promotions page. And was there any more questions that you had? Or
I think we kind of covered everything in the conversation. I know we're going to get some more out there as we get a little closer to the show. I mean, a lot that I was getting was about that qualifier, about the events. No, of course, a lot of people didn't know it was already changed to 5. I had that. Are we going to invite more guys, or we should? And I think I got another question about Naramu, if he confirmed yet.
He hasn't confirmed yet. He is still working on it. He hasn't said no.
Okay.
He just obviously he's coming from the probably worst part of the world in terms of travel costs,
absolutely,
etc., etc. So yeah, I'm still fingers crossed. Naramu has come in. Obviously, Nick Myers is, and they have the same coach. So I'm hoping that will push him towards it. But obviously, even if we get the prize pot up to $10,000, it's still an expensive trip, especially when it's like a field where you probably can't even guarantee yourself top 10 in this show.
Luke, I've said it once and I'll say it again. We got a lot of great Americans coming over, and don't hold your breath, because that podium could be anybody.
Yep.
It really could be.
I did have someone question me about whether we'd be doing other classes in the future. And
yes, I got that question a lot, actually.
So obviously it depends on this one being a success, which I'm confident it will be. We aren't, the way we're doing it and the way we're trying to run it for the future is that so it's sustainable.
Yes.
It's not just coming from a cash injection from, say, myself or another benefactor or one big sponsor. I'm trying not to rely on that, so it kind of can run itself, and we can keep doing it. So obviously, it will depend on ticket sales, how well the live stream does, and all those sort of factors which we won't necessarily know about until closer to the show or after the show. But the plan is 100% do more classes in the future. We're not going to add them all at one time, so you won't see six Chaos Classics next year. There might be 2 in 2024, 3 in 2025, and so on and so forth. The next class that get added will probably be the under 64 kilo women, just because it's Rhiannon's baby.
Yeah, and listen, we can all argue it's the best class in strong, man or woman by itself. So that would be the smart move.
That's the way I would like to do it, is add a women's class next, then maybe another men's class, then another women's class, and so on and so forth. Whether we do them as standalone shows or we combine them into a weekend sort of thing, I'm not quite sure yet. But yeah, 100% the plan is to do more than just.
Well, it seems like you got a great template. I think a lot of people that I've talked to have commented on that, including with kind of waiting. Don't put the cart before the horse.
Yeah,
and you're not doing that here. I mean, everything you're doing is walking that line of success and providing the template works, which I think we all agree. Everything seems to be right, and of course you'll find out at the end with the the ledger, but it's going to be something I think we're all pretty excited about, because I think everybody's going to stand behind this, and we certainly appreciate it, Luke. I know you're a guy that represents well, and I can tell you what, the American side of things, you got our attention. That's a fact, Jack.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to get across to people there. I don't want to promise things that I can't deliver. So everything that I'm talking about is stuff that I already have guaranteed. So if I say this is what the prize money is now, that's what the prize money is. Do you know what I mean? That's not what I'm hoping for it to be. That's not what I'm waiting on sponsors or whatever. That's like a fact. So I'm only talking in facts. I'm not talking about what I want. And the same goes for everything else. If I post something on Instagram or Facebook, it's because it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can all appreciate that. That goes a long ways, obviously, in this community. So, and certainly everybody's looking forward to competing against the best. You're putting together a show that's going to allow these guys to put up, or what'd you say, Luke? You said for your competition, you got a phrase you like to use. I'm going to hold you to. I won't hold you to it now because I'm putting you on the spot. But you said at the beginning of the show, I like how you put it. Maybe it just sounds really good in your accent. I don't know, but you got to put up or shut up or show up or whatever. But yeah. See, I create these awkward moments for myself all the time.
No, what I said was I quoted Ric Flair. I didn't say that.
I know. I'm going to start doing that more too. Right.
To be the man, you got to beat the man.
There you go. That's it. Yes. Right. It was the Ric Flair thing. Let's say it one more time. To
be the man, you've got to beat the man.
Yes, that's it. That's what I was trying to get at. Right, exactly. So you want to be the man, you got to be the man.
I expect Tyler Davies to use that quote in all his training videos going forward.
I hope he does, Tyler. That's a shout out to you now. If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man.
And just tag every other 90 in it and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll make that its own hashtag. It'll have like 10,000 views behind it because of it. So, well, hey, Luke, I appreciate you coming on with me today. I know everybody was excited to hear from you. Everybody's super excited about the show. Now we just need to speed the calendar up a bit. We're 6.5 months out. We feel like we want to do this tomorrow, but I know you got a lot of work to do. We'll stay up with you, make sure we're on point, getting all this information out on your behalf. And of course, we'll be doing everything we can do over here to promote this Chaos Strength Promotions U90 Classic and everything else you got going on. So thanks for joining me today, and we'll catch up with you soon.
All right, see you soon, Joe.
All right.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, man.